have.
No,
right?
I
So
haven't.
You, so
People
no,
that
no,
you
stop,
talk
stop.
about
You don't know
are-
anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now. I'm going to say it again. No charges whatsoever brought. And he's been in jail for 3 years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough, because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a fucking long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges did we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many people went to prison for 3 years? How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. And you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote, don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. You don't care what the facts are. You don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up.
I've been saying this for a long time. Tim, thank you for the beautiful clip. Let that man cook. But before we let Tim cook, I want to I'm sorry. I never seen Tim this bad before. And someone had to be very disingenuous for Tim to get to that point. So I'm going to add context. If you like what you're seeing so far, please subscribe. It'll help the channel if you do. Also like the video. And let's get into the clip, because this is an interesting clip. Here's some context that led to that intro that you just saw. And without further ado, let's just get into it, because I want to react to this in real time.
the month that they should get. I do respect the fact that they were prosecuted in a court of law, and I don't think Trump, to send a message to his base that what happened on January 6th was good, which is why he would do such a pardon, should be pardoning folks who were violent. Or
I think 3 years is long enough.
Yeah, and that's a wrong stance, but okay.
How is it wrong?
I just explained it to you.
No.
You just explained talking points, right? I don't know, it's 18 seconds in, but I have to come on, I got to get my commentary on this. I've been saying for a long time that if you could pick out any instance during the summer of 2020, there was more death, more property damage than January 6th. But these people, these partisans, and this is what the biggest problem with the left is, that they hate retroflexion. They hate looking at themselves. I don't understand why. They only want to look one way. There could be a fire. They destroying stuff on their side. They're firebombing police stations, as Tim pointed out. That destroyed a lot of property. If you look at the monetary damage caused by BLM, Chaz, they made a whole autonomous zone without government authority. Make it make sense. But all we know about is January 6th. And this is the double standard that many people on the right points out. I'm tired of rhetoric without context. And this is exactly what's wrong with the left, and why I don't really take them seriously, why they don't really sway me, or they're not really persuasive. All they have is guilt trip and emotionalism. And you're going to see, he said, oh, that's conclusion's wrong. Tim asks him how it's wrong. And then this is how you get Tim snapping on you 9 p.m. at night or something. Who knows? But let's continue, because this is what you're here to watch.
You didn't. You said the court process should play out the way it is. My opinion on the amount of time should be served for a crime is not just wrong because you like courts.
No, I get that.
You need to explain
I'm saying
why the time frame I'm asserting should be longer than 3 years.
Critical
No,
thinking.
I'm saying the default, you have to have overwhelming, compelling evidence that someone has been wronged to justify a president stepping in and saying, I'm subverting the justice.
This is an interesting flip. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? But this guy's arguing as if the assumption is these people are guilty and they have to be proven innocent. Right? You have to have evidence that proves without a shadow of a doubt that they did something guilty. He doesn't have that. So how he's making that assertion? I'm just asking questions.
justice system outcome. Do you agree with that premise?
No.
That's a moral.
So yeah, you're making a fascist argument.
A fascist argument?
You are
here we
making the
go.
fascist argument that the hierarchical structure of government is just and should be upheld regardless.
Why? Okay, I'm not going to ask that. This is
Right. And so the system we have is
I'm just not loving, and this is a way of celebrating violence. That Trump is celebrating those,
Trying to redirect.
as far as a pardon, and in his rhetoric and in his national anthem thingy, people who attacked the Capitol. Why?
This is an example of moving the goalpost, right? The goal was, Tim's goal here was, can you back up your claim of your opinion on why these people deserve the punishment that they got? What makes you feel so strongly about these people still needing to serve time when, as you saw from the intro, when he blew up on him, he pointed out, hey, your people caused more damage, no indictments, no arrest. But these people who did less harm to the police, and the people who did do harm to the police actually is in jail. That's fine. We agree of accountability. The point is, your side has done more property damage, hurt more people, and there's not a single person being arrested for that. How can you square that? Instead of attempting to square that, he runs away and tries to distract and try to make it about Trump, as per usual.
Why did they attack it? Because they believe lies about the election.
there's a variety of reasons why people were violent on January 6th. Largely that they believe
You
the
could
election
just
was
be like,
stolen.
hey, that's bad. You don't have to keep going.
I've called for their arrest and prosecution. Like it's not this is not a shock to my audience.
My reporting
Really
is
disagree.
responsible for the arrest of a couple of January
My point
6th
is that
rioters.
if you've got somebody on a misdemeanor charge who's been held without trial, a pardon makes perfect sense, unless you're a fascist, and the system is just. So it's like Benjamin Franklin, who said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. You've taken the Otto von Bismarck approach of it is better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty person escape.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
okay, you
yes.
have.
I literally came to the same conclusion without watching. This is my first time watching this video. I came to the same conclusion about what that man said based on what he's saying, and Tim back me up on this. And I think any person who's critically thinking is going to go, yeah, he flipped the innocent until proven guilty on its head just to push a talking point, just to push a narrative. And this kind of thing in politics, I'm starting to get tired of, honestly. And I hope I don't participate in this as much. This is why I go into these long-winded rants, because I always feel like I have to back up what I'm saying. But I digress. I just think this is not helpful. Who it helps? Nobody. Let's argue on the substance of what's going on here. And I think this is what Tim is trying to do. Tim's trying to have a discussion that is substantive to get a understanding of what the hell this guy is thinking. And this guy, all he wants to do is spew talking points, spew a narrative, trying to justify his feelings about Trump bad. And many you call him out on it, he tries to run to something else to distract from what was originally asked of him.
No,
Right.
I
So,
haven't.
so
The people
no,
that
no,
you
stop,
talk
stop.
about
You don't know
are-
anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fucking fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now, I'm going to say it again, no charges whatsoever brought, and he's been in jail for 3 fucking years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough. Because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But
And it points out to his tribalism too, right? If you look at it, if you take it from a tribal perspective, then you understand the relativeness of it. If it was someone on his side experiencing that, let's say someone from BLM got indicted because he killed a cop like David Dunn, and hey, you're going to go to jail, you're getting prosecuted 3 years, but we didn't send a single charge to you. He's gonna be saying the same arguments that Tim is making. Hey, charge the dude. If you're not going to charge the dude, why are you holding him in prison? But because that person that's being held in prison for 3 years without a single indictment or charge, and he hasn't even done anything violent really, he's going to justify his arrest because it's part of because he's on an outside tribe. And this is what we're talking about, tribal politics. That there's no foundation. Like, this is what I'm talking about when I say politics has become a religion. That whatever your side says, That's the narrative that must be spent. You can never disagree with the sign. The problem is conservatives can disagree with each other. This is why Democrats' first talking point is Republicans can't govern, because Republicans are willing to disagree with each other. While on the left, they don't take well to people disagreeing with them. If you don't follow along in lockstep, you'll be ousted out of the party. You'll be disassociated from the party. Look at AOC. This is what I'm talking about. The left don't look at their own side. They just want to look, oh, look, the Republicans can't govern. And we're looking like, yo, y'all governing bad, and no one on your side is willing to speak out against it. That's the difference. I'd rather have dysfunction over there because that seems more appealing to me. Like, oh, people of the same party and they disagreed. Oh, the spending bill didn't pass because 34 Republicans voted against it. All the Democrats voted against it except like 5. So in my estimation, I'm like, yo, there's just more ideological conformity on the Democratic side than on the Republican side. I want to go over there because that's where the interesting conversations are happening. That's where the moderates are. That shows that's a moderate party. Republicans every day show themselves as the more moderate party because they're willing, more people vote against the party interests on average compared to the Democratic Party. But the Democrats complain the most about their party. Make it make sense. But Republicans fall. Okay. Conservatives fall.
3 years is a fucking long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges did we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many fucking people went to prison for 3 years?
0.
How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years?
0.
Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. And you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote, don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. Damn. You don't care what the facts are. You don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up. And this is the problem I have with the left. They don't know the facts. They don't care about the facts. They view morality as a blanket government stroke of the pen, and every person, regardless of their crime, should be in prison for decades.
That's why I say fascism can never come from the right, because fascism is fundamentally a socialist ideology. It's a system of socialism. The top down is top down. It's top down. If the top says 2 + 2 is 5, he will the guy or I forgot the kid's name, Luke something. I forget the kid's name. It doesn't matter. The leftist here would say, yes, the government says that 2 + 2 is 5, therefore it is 5. And Tim's like, that goes against all known knowledge of human history. Throughout human history, 2 + 2 was always 4. Why all of a sudden it became 5? Well, because the government says so, is what this leftist is going to answer. And then I got leftists in my comment section. I made a video on this channel, if you're new here, where I outline my thoughts on why I believe that the left hates critical thinkers and why they push out all their critical thinkers out of their party. And I got, it's both sides. I said, no, it's not. It's not both sides. As you can see here, we accept Tim, even though Tim's not a conservative. At best, Tim's a conservative liberal, but he's still a center-left person. At best. And we're willing to hear him out. We're willing to listen to him because we agree on him on fundamental things. Not necessarily because he's part of our ideological camp. And that's the difference. We're willing to debate each other. We're willing to disagree with each other. This is why the conservative movement sometimes got a lot of drama, because people are willing to disagree with each other because they have strong feelings. But what about the left? I don't see none of that. And if it's like an insignificant voice or something. And that's the difference. Y'all don't know how to check yourselves before y'all wreck yourselves. This is why y'all still delusional enough to think that Kamala Harris can run again in 2028. I digress.
Rejected outright. The people who fought cops should go to prison. They did. It's been 3 years. But when you've got people who are on misdemeanor charges for having walked into a building at 4 p.m. after the riot, and I know some of these people, they walked into a building for 2 minutes and walked out, and they got 18 months for that. I don't see you defending the innocent people who walked onto a public grass at a public building after a riot had been completed. You don't know. You don't care. You've taken a tribal position, and people are suffering because of it. Now you say that Donald Trump saying the injustice that we've seen warrants commutation or pardons. You say that means he's advocating for violence. This is the ultimate problem. Then you cite a press release from Maryland saying, but the right's more violent. There is a distinction between a white supremacist.
Everything is like what the government said, what the government said, what the government says. The government can be corrupt. This is appeal to authority. This is the number one thing I point out about the left. I'm sorry if I'm ragging on the left, but this is the truth. You guys use appeal to authority, which is a logical fallacy. Oh, this report says he's this. That don't prove anything. What is the report referencing? We want to look for some observable empirical evidence. And appeals to authority is not empirical evidence. Oh, CNBC says this. Oh, well, it was reported by CNN. It doesn't matter if it was reported by CNN. What is CNN basing that on? Anonymous sources? Then it's a fluff story. It's not evidence. That doesn't prove anything. At best, it's conjecture. At best, it's slander. At best, it's a claim, an unproven claim. At best, but they want to project this as the truth, and this is what I'm. This is why I meant. That's why I always say on this channel that I always feel like the left attempts to deceive you with their positions. A conservative is telling you this is what I believe, and here's why. The leftists will try to pretend or create this narrative that this is the only conclusion you can possibly come to, and they'll filter out any information that's inconvenient to this premise that they're trying to sell to you. And this is my biggest irate complaint. I complain a lot on this channel about the left, but that could be, if that's one pet peeve of one reason why I never was why leftism, progressivism, Marxism, socialism, communism, yeah, I'm going down the line. Why it was never appealing to me, it's too collectivist. And collectivism breeds dogma.
As a right-wing group and a run-of-the-mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Strzok. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was yelling. They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Schroyer, who was at a permitted rally, who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they?
Let him cook.
Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them. Tell me why. Give me the data.
I understand that laws on the books have been there for a long time that I agree with. That if it's proven that you had a plan.
Tim crashing out right now. Tim crashing out. Wow. Yo. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, Tim spoke for us, bro. Cause that's why I'm tired of these young, snooty liberals that and the funny part is you expect me to think that these people are able to call out authoritarianism when this mode of thinking, this appeal to authority is authoritarianism. Oh, the people in authority said this, therefore I'm gonna go along with it. Oh, it's reported by the mainstream media, I'm gonna go along with it. Without questioning, okay, is this evidence actually prove what they're claiming? This is why I said fascism will come from the left. It was like tyranny, authoritarianism, that stuff can only exist in a more centralized power. Who wants centralized power? The left, because they're collectivists. Look how they vote in lockstep against a bill. Whatever the leader says, whatever Hakeem Jeffries says, whatever Nancy Pelosi says, most of them fall in line. But we're supposed to pretend that, fascism is going to come from the right.
And you wanted to act on it.
What's the proof?
Then days
What's
after.
the proof?
The proof is
say the proof.
by
Don't
prosecutors.
ask. Say it.
Communications between
What communications? What did he say? What did he do?
Is this serious?
Are you going to tell me why you think Enrique Tarrio should be in prison for 20 years? Or are you going to say the government decreed it?
I just explained to you.
So the government said so. Is that it?
Yes.
it's usually
Appeals
law
to authority.
enforcement, which I guess is part of the government.
Government said so?
Yep.
It's a logical fallacy, guys.
Law
So you can't
enforcement
say why.
that uncovers evidence of communications, a memo that he crafted and sent to his organization.
Saying what?
That detailed each institution of government that they were going to try to overthrow. Then just days later, his organization is at the Capitol.
I'm
You
not
hear that
quite-
We didn't even
typing?
pull up Enrique Tarrio.
Uh-oh.
I'm not quite sure that there's any evidence of that
That's just claims.
sort.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this. The idea that Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo
It's just
outlining
conspiracy, okay.
or they 3 months featured witness evidence issued at Tarrio and co-defense included videos, thousands of messages and encrypted chat groups, as well as a public message on Parler. On or before January 6th, Tarrio convened a Ministry of Self-Defense to coordinate Proud Boys leadership on January 6th. The chat showed that Tarrio, stationed in Baltimore, encouraged the Proud Boys as they attacked the Capitol. Let's figure out what that encouragement was.
This is how you do deep
Are they
thinking
going to
here.
actually say in the article? So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday in a plot to attack the Capitol. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy after hearing dozens of witnesses. Jurors cleared a 5th defendant, Dominic Pizzola, on a citizen charge, and a significant milestone of the Justice Department, which is now secured a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. They will never stop. Okay, that's interesting. Wikipedia asserts that they did this, but there's actually nothing in the news article that actually states
that
that's
up.
true. Well, now we got a problem.
Deception.
Let's try this again. Let's try a secondary source. Let's see. There it is. They introduced evidence that Tarrio discussed with associates a plan to have a large crowd in Washington storm government buildings in a scheme they called 1776 Returns, in which the Winter Palace was used as an apparent code for the U.S. Capitol. In a message, he said, make no mistake, we did this, do what must be done, and he directed the Proud Boys to do it again. So the question then becomes, in the bigger picture...
So are you going to at all acknowledge that you just blew up over something that I was absolutely citing fairly?
I don't think you cited it fairly.
I think people should be prosecuted for
Yeah.
engaging in plans to overthrow our government. That's kind of
That's a very loose definition of plans to overthrow the government.
y'all don't seem to be that informed.
Wait,
on
Luke,
the
respectfully,
plan
I cover a
yourself.
lot of protests and riots. A lot of people try to protest and riot and occupy government buildings. Do you think that qualifies as trying to, overthrow your government?
No.
Okay, good. So, I mean,
But if they had a plan to take control of the government, which was this one,
If this was an
Is
actual
that
plan, this
a
was
plan?
the leastly
That's a
poorly,
plan to take
most
over the government?
ridiculous plan ever. They went after people for having Lego sets of the Capitol. I mean, the level of political
Yeah.
prosecution. Would you even admit that there was some level of politics when it came to the prosecution of the J6ers? Would you say politics played a
because
role in
I'm
this?
engaging with this as thoughtfully as possible, not trying to grandstand. Of course, often for very justifiable reasons, prosecutors will try to make an example of someone who, for example, tried to overthrow the government to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. I see why such a thing,
Personally, I reject the idea that
categorized
that is
as
trying to
sedition.
So he's still trying to play this little frame game, but as you saw, we went down the rabbit hole with Tim and the others about like how exactly this conspiracy happened, and it doesn't help his case, right? And this is one of the things why I don't trust this framing from the left. What doesn't help his case is the fact that January 6th committee is here destroying evidence allegedly, that they're trying to pardon people who were instrumental to the January 6th committee. They're also in the 1,500 page bill. They try to put items in there that will give these people immunity from being investigated by Palm and Kash Patel. Why is that? If everything was to the book, key, no shady business going on, we should be able to investigate the January 6th committee and nothing would happen. On this channel, on my previous videos, I showed that at least Lisa Farrah Griffin from The View is possibly open to be investigated because she acted as a in-between between Liz Cheney and a witness. That's witness tampering. A lot of this shady stuff is going around and surrounding January 6th. This is why no one trusts anything that the government says. This is why appeals to authority is a logical fallacy, because authorities can abuse their position of power to make an example out of someone, as you just pointed out. And everyone knows that the January 6th stuff is purely politically motivated, because you had something comparable, and if it's not comparable to BLM, Antifa, Chaz, then it was worse. and you have not indicted anybody, you haven't investigated anybody, you haven't prosecuted anybody who was involved in 2020 during the riots of 2020. So everyone sees the political games. Everyone sees the double standards. And you wonder why Republicans do not trust our government institutions anymore. But I digress. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with Tim Pool? Do you agree with the way he just I guess, corrected this guy? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.